Small Business Administration seeing a surge of manufacturing loan approvals under the second Trump administration, a 74% increase compared to the Biden administration's first 90 days. Small Business Administrator Kelly Loeffler has been meeting manufacturers across the country as part of its Made in America initiative. Joining me now live in studio, the administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration, Kelly Loeffler. Great to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jackie.
Talk to me a little bit about the president's policies. He wants fair trade policies. He wants blue-collar America to thrive. How is it all playing out? What are people telling you?
Well, this is the power of President Trump's America First policies in action. Over 1,100 manufacturing loans in President Trump's first 90 days. That's a 74% increase over President Biden's first 100 days. It speaks to the power of capital flowing into Made in America manufacturing. That's why we're out on this roadshow talking to hundreds of manufacturers across the country. And they're telling me they could not be more excited to have a level playing field. They're putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
They're hiring and investing, and we're seeing it every single day. I was just in Long Island yesterday talking to a number of manufacturers. We've been in the heartland. We've been out west. It's happening everywhere.
And small business is the backbone of the U.S. economy, and it's really speaks to who we are as a nation, small business owners. The SBA is going to eliminate some packages of Biden-era policies. They dramatically reduced underwriting standards on within the 7A loan program. It provides government-backed capital through private lenders for qualified small businesses unable to borrow elsewhere. When it comes to starting a small business, funding is always the biggest hurdle. So this will be a tremendous help.
Absolutely. Capital is the lifeblood of businesses, especially small businesses that need that much needed capital access. The Biden administration attempted to turn it into a government handout, robbing small businesses, deserving small businesses across main streets in America of needed capital. We give about 1,200 loans a week.
Wow.
That means think about the impact on small business and hiring. We've seen that powerful trend of hiring in the jobs report. So we've restored those standards, those underwriting standards, like any bank would. I come from the private sector. This would never be allowed to happen, to lower the underwriting standards. We've restored them. Frankly, our lender partners are very happy.
Yeah.
And for the first time in 13 years, the Biden administration drove this program into negative cash flow to the tune of $360 million. We're getting that money back for taxpayers, as well as charging the fees that they'd waived to the tune of $400 million. So in the first 90 days, we've already had a tremendous impact in restoring capital for small businesses, which includes 99% of all manufacturers, too.
Yeah, if he wanted to help the manufacturers, like he said he did, Joe Biden, he would have focused on a lot different policy strategy, let's just put it that way. When it comes to lending rates, that's really important too. And President Trump is, he's implementing the tariffs. He wants to level the playing field, but he's also watching interest rates in the markets very closely. I know that he does that. And we're looking at mortgage rates that are high, but it also comes to your auto loan or your small business loan. What is the environment for lending and rates right now for some of these owners that are looking to start something?
Well, absolutely. What we're seeing is tremendous demand for capital right now, which is good. Nothing says confidence like business owners being willing to take on debt to invest in capital assets and to hire people. And that's what's happening. So, look, the interest rate environment's a little dynamic right now. You and I have both spent time on Wall Street. Mm-hmm. We know that markets go up and down, but manufacturers and small businesses across this country are so excited about a return to Made in America. They want to invest and grow. And we've seen that from big businesses too. $5 trillion in investment coming in, which means it's going to make its way down to Wall Street, into hiring and into investment, and stabilize this economy, which was on an unsustainable path with a $1.2 trillion trade deficit that had accelerated in Biden's last year by 20%. That's simply unsustainable, and everyone knew it.
And what it tells me is that even in a higher rate environment, the appetite is there, and therefore, as parts of the economic policy start to come together and rates eventually do come down, you can always refinance debt. It's that willingness to put yourself out there and to try something new. And whether we're talking about AI or whether we're talking about small business or whether we're talking about crypto, these are all things President Trump supports. And people feel that. They know when he's got your back. And so they're willing to take that risk.
Absolutely. And it's not just one thing. Everyone wants fair trade policy. They also want the tax cuts to be extended. They want to make sure that we have that job creation engine. They want to have deregulation. The Small Business Administration is working hard on deregulation. We've committed to cutting $100 billion in excessive regulation imposed by the Biden administration. That disproportionately affects small businesses and manufacturers. We're well on track to doing that because we can work across the entire federal government. And so those are things that are abusive. I mean, we've talked about other abusive things this morning here, using the loan programs as political handouts. So we're working hard on waste, fraud, and abuse across the federal government.
Yeah, and that's really important. Meantime, a group of 5 small businesses suing the Trump administration over tariffs. They're arguing that the tariffs are illegal under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. If tariffs are implemented at the original level that was suspected, which they most likely won't be, I could see how small businesses would say, you're going to hurt me. But at the end of the day, if tariffs end up being a negotiation strategy to get these countries to come to the table, and President Trump then negotiates them down and gets us better terms, then this lawsuit would be moot, right?
That's right, Jackie. 75 countries at the table at least already. But what I'm hearing from small businesses is they want that level playing field. They know that this is a short-term situation that is going to be replaced by a much brighter long-term. Whether I've been in small businesses that are hardware stores or small manufacturers, they are excited about Made in America. They understand the emergency we were under because we no longer made our own chips, our defense products, medical devices, things like that that are life or death, that we need to make sure we're investing in all of that. And that's what's happening right here in New York and across this country. And what I'm excited to see is the energy behind it. We're working to bring the skilled workforce to bear because there's so many needs in manufacturing. Manufacturing has really become an extension of technology. We need more of that in this country. And it's really exciting.
When you think about manufacturing, I think people think big, huge factories and big Fortune 500 companies for medical devices, for example. But that can be done on a smaller scale. When you're out in the country, what are people most interested in with respect to investing in and starting these businesses? Because it seems like what you're saying is that they are very aligned with the president's goals in making some of these things that we need. They don't have to be done by the huge manufacturers.
Oh, they're absolutely aligned. And they see the opportunity firsthand. They know they're getting the orders, they're getting the inbounds. They're seeing supply chains shift in real time. So President Trump's trade strategy is already working to make it fair and accessible on American land. And that's what, we see automation, robotics. We should be able to make our own drones, our own chips, and not just stop at chips, but be able to have the post-production manufacturing after we produce the chip. What do you put the chip in? We build cars, phones, other electronics that we should be able to build here and not ship those chips overseas to have the production finished. That's a huge boom for America.
A huge part of small business and investment and growth and opportunity and overall success hinges on taxes. So when you look at the president's tax strategy, his 2017 tax cuts, which we hopefully will see extended, if not made permanent, those were a huge boon to small business because that's a pass-through rate that goes right down to the business as well. Talk to me a little bit about a big, beautiful bill, how important it is for these businesses to make sure that they have that.
Well, it's critically important, and I hope and believe Congress will support President Trump's wish to get that done quickly. I think that would be tremendous for small businesses and investment across this country. It's not just the 20% pass-through, it's expensing, 100% expensing that he talked about back to January 20th. Talk about making investment great in America again. Getting that accelerant into the market will be huge, and it provides a lot of certainty. So not everyone's impacted by tariffs, but everyone's impacted by taxes. So that's one of our other efforts, is to make sure that we're advocating for small business in that regard.
Right.
Taxes, fair trade, and deregulation.
And here at home, part of making America great again is about, again, small business and the backbone of this economy. So just, a final word on that, what it's like talking to these people across the country and what you're feeling from them as we move forward to this 4 years.
It's tremendous to be out there with our manufacturers, with our small businesses, to see what's happening on Main Street. The optimism is at peak levels. I haven't seen anything like it since the first Trump administration, which was fantastic. We reached new heights economically and on a world stage. We're heading there again. People know that. That's why they're investing.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing better than getting out of Washington and being on our main streets and in our manufacturing, our small towns, our communities that were overlooked for the last 4 years. America's coming back.
That's awesome. Kelly Loeffler, thank you so much.
Jackie.
Great to see you today.
Likewise.
Are you willing to pay extra as long as it's made in America? Do you understand what tariffs are? Be honest. Have you canceled your Temu account? Like and comment below. Follow us on X at Pulse Media. GRP.